So, Christmas pretty much came and went for hockey fans, as free agency signings, well, most anyways, took place this past weekend. And as the dust has now settled, I decided to go over quite a few recent signings. Keep in mind that this won't feature most goalie signings, as I previously touched on those in another video, so if you'd like to check that out, I'll provide the link below. So, let's get to it, shall we? St. Louis signed Torrey Krug to a 7-year, $45.5 million contract with an AAV of 6.5. He has a no-trade clause until 2025, and then the modified trade clause will take over from there. He'll be in his mid-30s when that happens. So, kind of like a one-for-one with Pietrangelo as far as production. He's slightly younger, but not much younger. Very similar stats. It's, like I said, kind of like a one-for-one, except obviously the Blues are paying Krug less than Petro's making, and obviously that's pretty much why Petro left, because, they weren't willing to, I think, pay him what he wanted. A lot of us thought Krug was going to go to Detroit. I thought it was a possibility. I mean, obviously he's from there. Yeah, he played in Michigan, from that area, so it kind of made sense for him to go there, but also makes sense here, as they obviously had a need. As far as the signing is concerned, I think it's a pretty good signing. It's a steal for St. Louis. Columbus Blue Jackets signed Mikko Koivu to a 1-year, $1.5 million contract. I saw this as kind of like a little Finnish connection going on, a little Finnish bromance, if you will, with Jaro Kekalainen and Mikko Koivu. Koivu also seems like a grinder and an in-your-face type of player that will obviously mesh well with Tort's system. He's all about that. I saw it as a pretty good low-risk deal. Washington Capitals signed Justin Schultz to a 2-year, $8 million contract with an average annual value of $4 million. This was one of my least favorite contracts on here. Maybe it's because I know more about Schultz's game than most of the players on here, but he's going to be making $4 million, and the guy was struggling. On his way out of Pittsburgh, he put up 12 points in 46 games. I would be defending him if his game was more defensive, but it's not. He's more of an offensively inclined defenseman, so his main focus is going to be putting up points. And last season, he didn't really do that. He's shown a lot of decline, and obviously this is no disrespect to him as a person, just evaluating his game as a player, but I didn't really understand the value of the contract. I thought it was a slight overpayment, but then again, pretty much have to overpay for defensemen anymore, but he's going to be making $3 million in the first year and $5 million in the second, so it's a little backloaded there also. Who knows, maybe he'll play out. It's kind of weird because Niskanen went over to the Capitals as well, and now Schultz he won 2 cups with Pittsburgh. It's definitely going to be weird seeing him in a Caps uniform as a Pens fan. But anyways, Anaheim Ducks signed Kevin Shattenkirk to a 3-year, $11.7 million contract with an average annual value of $3.9 million. This was another one I didn't quite understand the value of it, but Shattenkirk does have that Stanley Cup experience, so again, maybe there's been that overpayment for that experience in a way, the veteran experience, I guess, that the Ducks may be looking for, as they're kind of in that sort of rebuilding limbo stage right now. He's been kind of a journeyman a little bit, and he's also he was bought out in New York, so he was struggling. Obviously made an impact on the Tampa Bay roster, but again, I believe that this was a slight overpayment. Detroit Red Wings signed Bobby Ryan to a 1-year, $1 million contract. This was very low risk. I thought it was a great move, personally. I think that for a lot of Ottawa fans, it's been tough seeing him go, seeing him bought out. It was, really an emotional game when he came back and scored the hat trick, and, fans standing up and giving him an ovation, him winning the Masterton Award and then getting bought out. I think it was tough for, like I said, a lot of Senators fans, but I'm really excited and hopeful for Bobby Ryan. I'm hoping that he can prove himself and prove that he still can play in this league, and hopefully score a contract with Detroit the next season. Edmonton Oilers signed Mike Smith to a 1-year, $2 million contract. So I went through a lot of the reports on this, and they seemed very opposed. It's not just me thinking that this is kind of a head scratcher. No disrespect to Smith, again, as a person, but he's 38 years old, and he struggled a lot in Edmonton, just his whole time in Edmonton. I'm wondering if maybe Edmonton they jumped the gun a little bit. Maybe they're just kind of wanting to sign somebody and have maybe some assurance there. I just don't, like I said, I don't see the reason for it. Buffalo Sabres signed Taylor Hall to a 1-year, $8 million contract. This was the biggest surprise, the biggest shock. It was pure chaos when this broke on Twitter. It was nuts. Nobody saw it coming. I don't even think Taylor Hall saw it coming. I would be very surprised. A lot of us thought that he was going to be signing with like Colorado, a team that, maybe Edmonton, a team that had, no offense to Sabres fans, but had a little bit more promise as far as winning, because he did say point blank that he wanted to go to a team that could win, a winning team, a contender, and then he signed with Buffalo. You know what? I think it's great, honestly. I'm happy for that franchise landing Hall, because you see these reports of Eichel hating his life in Buffalo, and all these players, Ristolainen, just, not happy, and all these guys that they just want out because it just sucks so bad. And then you see this happen, and it's kind of like, to me, like a feel-good signing almost. Like one of those, you're just kind of like Bobby Ryan. You're just like, yeah. Anyways, great signing, happy for the team. And seeing him play with Jack Eichel is going to be like, wow. It's like exciting just thinking about it, like that tandem right there. But anyways, Columbus Blue Jackets signed Max Domi to a 2-year, $10.6 million contract with an AAV of 5.3. Honestly, I kind of saw this coming a little bit. Most Habs fans kind of knew that he wasn't going to stay in Montreal. Because the odd, fourth liner status in the bubble, he was getting switched from, center to wing. It was I think there was obviously, in one of the videos I made, there was obviously some conflict with him and head coach Claude Julien. So we kind of already knew that he was going to be going somewhere else. He fired his agent. There was things that went down that just pointed in that direction. I saw the fit before. I kind of was I read some articles, and, I thought to myself, you know what, this makes sense. Some people were pointing in the direction of Columbus, and I thought it made sense because of John Tortorella being there. He would just really play well and thrive under Torts' system. But obviously, letting go of Josh Anderson, you're letting go a little bit of the physical type of brash game that the Jackets are known for. Obviously, Domi doesn't really scream physicality when you, obviously, he's had his moments. He has his moments, but I don't see him being as physical quite as Josh Anderson, or as big, obviously as big of a player. For Columbus, I think they needed a star. They needed someone who's a little bit more flashy. They had Panarin before on wing, and now Domi. It's going to be interesting to see kind of where Domi exactly fits in, but definitely, I think, a pretty good signing. Maybe a little bit of an overpayment, but Domi did have that. He put up over 70 points that 1 year in Montreal, so maybe they're kind of going on a little bit of optimism, maybe that he can find his game again. So what better place to do it than Columbus? Pittsburgh Penguins signed Sam Lafferty to a 2-year, $1.5 million contract with an AAV of $750,000. Honestly, this was my favorite contract that Pittsburgh put out this offseason. I thought that, so far, it's been my favorite. I loved Sam Lafferty last season. He was coming up from the minors, and he just played that physical, just in-your-face kind of game. He's just basically like a wrecking ball on skates. It's really funny because he reminds, I've heard from other Pens fans, he kind of reminds us of Jarkko Ruutu, his physical game. And he wears the same number, so it's just kind of ironic and kind of funny. But he does play a similar style of game. I think he's a player that the Penguins are in desperate need of. They need that physicality. He's a depth kind of player. He's got a lot to prove still yet. He's a younger player, but I'm very hopeful for this guy that he's going to be impactful for the Penguins moving forward. And speaking of Pittsburgh, New York Rangers signed Jack Johnson to a 1-year, $1.15 million contract. This was really weird. I don't know, just happening. Getting bought out was a surprise, for a lot of us Pens fans. We didn't even see that coming, and then this happened. And anyone that follows me on Twitter, you would have seen my tweet that Jack Johnson was the new Mark Stahl, and no offense to Mark Stahl, but, he was kind of New York's Jack Johnson at the time, and now New York has Jack Johnson. they have another Mark Stahl. So it's a low-risk contract. It's only 1 year. How bad can it be? Or really, is that a question? Yeah, that's a question. It can get bad, but with Jack Johnson on the ice, no offense. A lot of reports later came out that Johnson possibly went to the New York Rangers. He actually kind of did because of Jacques Martin. It does make sense, like, I guess as far as that connection, because Martin, he oversaw the Penguins' defense. He was more like the defensive coach. So I can see that, but I guess we'll see how it pans out. Jack Johnson for Norris, guys. Jack Johnson for Norris. Toronto Maple Leafs signed Wayne Simmonds to a 1-year, $1.5 million contract. I think this was one of my favorite signings here as well because it makes total sense. Wayne Simmonds has that physical style of game, a bite to his game that Toronto is in desperate need of. They had Kyle Clifford last year. They had Jake Muzzin. They still have Jake Muzzin, but they also got Zach Bogosian, so they're kind of upping their bite to their game that they're going to have next season, and I could definitely see it. And a lot of people were saying he took a less because he's going to be playing for like his hometown team. So like I said, Kyle Dubas has this fetish for bringing guys home, so he brought another one home here. Calgary Flames signed Kristenov to a 4-year, $18 million contract with a 4.45 AAV. When I think about Calgary for next season, I think they're going to be physical as heck. They're going to be one of the hardest teams to play against as far as like just physicality in general is concerned. You think about it, they're going to be kind of like St. Louis, but in their cup year, but I think even more hard to play against for that reason. Think about it. They're going to have Kachuk, they're going to have Ronaldo, they're going to have Lucic, and now they're going to have Tanev. In my opinion, this was a slight overpayment, but I did watch his highlights, and he seems like a very valuable defenseman, not as far as scoring points, but that he's willing to get in there and block countless shots. He's very sacrificial as far as that is concerned. He also sticks up for his teammates. He logs like 20 minutes a game. He's not going to be flashy making the highlight reel. Instead, he's going to be playing more of a defensively sound game, which we can all agree Calgary could have used in the bubble. Golden Knights signed Alex Pietrangelo to a 7-year, $61.6 million contract. Full no move with an 8.8 AV. Most of us going in kind of had Vegas on the radar for Petro. It seemed like an obvious suitor, one that would work, one that had the space, one that would seem attractive, like a place that Pietrangelo would want to go to and had a need. I think that it was, in my opinion, a slight overpayment. I see Pietrangelo being worth more of like a 7, but Vegas obviously saw value in Pietrangelo, and he has that Stanley Cup experience. He's going to bring leadership to the team. It's sad though to see Nate Schmidt go. I know he was there at the beginning when Vegas started their inaugural season. They went on that run, and I'm sure it's hard for a lot of Vegas fans to see Schmidt go kind of in a result of this signing. I think Pietrangelo is going to be a very big part of that team moving forward. Them having, Pietrangelo and Mark Stone. They recently signed Leonard. So all these pieces, they're kind of falling into place now. Obviously, I think a lot of the core pieces are kind of, coming into play. But yeah, I'm cheering for Vegas now. Flurry's still in, so let's go Knights, and thank you for watching.